Hi.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. Écoutez son nom, le sang, c'est affreux.
Hey,
Je la connais, elle a les cheveux comme ça.
how's it going? I want to make sure that you all know how to use the chat because there's so many of us here. And hi, Sunny from Paris. Oh my goodness. It is 12 o'clock midnight in Paris and Sunny is joining us. Thank you so much for coming. So everyone, I'm so happy you're here. I'm just waiting for a few more people to show up. And while I'm waiting, would you please put in the chat where you are from? Where are you right now? So put that in the Zoom chat. NYC, Virginia.
New York.
Yeah, great. San Francisco. Oh my goodness. Sherman, Connecticut, Ontario, Paris, of course, Westchester, Bellevue, Washington, Los Angeles, upstate New York, Croton, right? San Francisco, Amsterdam, Brooklyn. Okay, I'm moving to Brooklyn in like a month. I'm so excited. I live in Manhattan now. All right, let's see. Hudson Valley, Byron Bay, Brussels, New York City, everyone. Oh my goodness, amazing. Manhattan. I'm glad to see you all here today. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you can, turn on your little cameras because this way I can see your reactions. I could see if you understand what I'm talking about or if you need a little bit of an explanation. And before I dive in, I just want you to know that you can always use the chat to put in a question. And I will definitely do a question and answer session afterwards. I'm really humbled and delighted to see you all here today. Thank you so much for joining me. I prepared a presentation for everyone on how to really get your website up and what to put on your website. Also, what to do when it comes to social media and how we can use social media to connect. But before I get into it, would you put into the chat or even unmute yourself and tell me what it is you're most excited to learn today? Social media, okay. Social media. All right, we have many slides on social media. How much content to put on your website? Oh, such a good question, Maddie. I got that. Lynn says, tips on getting more interested people. I got that too. Okay, that is one of our first slides. Mary is saying, make website effective. Definitely. Okay. Ryan is saying website formatting advice. I got that for you, Ryan. Lisa is asking how to improve website for viewer experience. Yes. How to use Reels from Ellen. Diana is asking when to use stories or Reels or plain posts. Yes, I got that down for you. All right. So let me begin the presentation so that we all have enough time before we go off to do something really cool tonight, right? Anyone doing anything fun tonight? This. Ooh, all right. I am the highlight. Okay. So let me go ahead and share my presentation with you all. And I just got to say, if anyone caught the joke in the title, kudos to you. I was really thinking about Zoolander. Does anyone remember Zoolander, the movie? Anyway, I'll just move on. But if you know, you know. All right, so this is all about how to look good on the internet, right? And the big question is, who am I to even tell you these things, right? So let me introduce myself. Many of you might know me, but many of you don't. So my name is Marina. I worked in the New York City art world for over 15 years. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in art history. I was a gallery director for many years here in New York City, a curator, and I worked with many geniuses. But what I'm not going to put on this slide is that I worked with many jerks too, who gave artists the runaround. And I just witnessed artists getting the runaround so much that my big passion and mission behind my business is to give you clear answers. And one of the reasons that I started the Artist Advisory is because I really thought that because of the internet, you can now connect to anyone and everyone as an artist, right? You no longer need that direct gatekeeper, and you can really decide how you present yourself. So here I am trying to telling you how to do it. So first things first, why even have an online presence, right? Why not just, hang out in your home and meet people in person? Well, number one is everyone is online and you can find your community. And when I say everyone, I mean like at least 4.5 billion people are online at any given time. That's a lot of people, right? So I want you to be able to find your community, especially during this time when we're coming out of a pandemic, hopefully, knock on wood, but also because you can now connect globally to everyone. You can also give people the information they need. So the other reason is to, people want to know about you, and you can give them a low pressure way to get to know you, right? So they're going to want to look into you. They're going to want to stalk you a little bit. So why not curate what you show them, right? Why not be your own PR person and show them exactly who you are? Another reason is that you can show off your accomplishments and build credibility. Oftentimes you're selling something that is several $1,000s or even $700. So you want to have a solid online presence that's going to show your collectors and curators and anyone in the industry who would want to work with you. You want to show them why it's that expensive, right? Or not expensive. And also make them feel okay spending that money so that you're not just a random person that they may get the artwork from after they send you a check for $10,000, right? So definitely to build your credibility, but also show off your accomplishments. Another reason to be online is that there's low overhead. You don't need to have a lot of money to communicate to people about your work or to market your work. Now, back in the day before the internet, you had to print slides. You were expected to kind of go from gallery to gallery and see if anyone was interested in your work. Also, if you wanted to have a presentation of your work, you needed to pay people to see it. You would either take out an ad in like the New York Times, if they gave you one, you might have to rent an art gallery somewhere on a busy street so that people would see who you are. Now you can really put yourself out there and you don't need to spend more than $200 a year on a website, and Instagram for now is free. So this is a great way to reach a lot of people and a very economical way as well. The other reason, oops, sorry, I clicked too much. The other reason is that you can make connections with collectors, curators, and everyone else, right? So when you make these really meaningful connections, somebody asked, how do I make these connections that matter? It's all in the message that you put out. I always say you can't sell paintings of puppies to cat people, right? So you have to find your people. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. So the next thing here is what are the parts of your online presence I'm going to tell you about today. Number one is your intention. This is something that you will convey online, but you will convey it everywhere that you go at every single time. And the reason is that your intention becomes your elevator pitch. It's that little quick zinger that's going to tell everybody about your work, and you will reel in an audience that really matters. And I'll tell you a little bit about how to get to your elevator pitch and where you can use it online and how. Next thing is social media. Everyone's here for social media. How do I do this, right? On social media, you want to find your community and you want to build connections, but also on social media, some of you may have, gotten here through my Instagram stories. And one of the greatest things about social media is that you can get people's emails off there, right? I got your emails. And the thing is, you want to use social media to really drive people to make meaningful connections and build community, but also go to your website and to connect with them by having their email, right? So next thing is you need a website to showcase your work. So today I'm going to tell you about your intention, your social media presence and how to build it and what to do on there, and your website and what to do on there as well, right? So here we are. We're going to go, before we get into anything that's very practical, I want to talk to you for a minute about your mindset. So, so important, right? You might be thinking, who am I to have this fantastic website? Who am I to, what am I going to even put on social media? Who's going to want to listen to this? If you're thinking that, I want you to know that the first thing that you need to do is take a moment to show gratitude to yourself for your accomplishments. It doesn't mean that, you want to sit there and be like, okay, I'm so grateful for having my museum retrospective and all this success. You might not have had a museum retrospective. Maybe you're just starting out, or maybe you are really, your accomplishments are more on the inside. And that's so, so important that you take into account your accomplishments, because that's how you're going to convey your worth, right? That you feel worthy. So even if it's, well, I'm so grateful that today I was able to figure this thing out and make this work of art, right? Or even if I'm so grateful that I was able to figure out how to make a body of work in my studio while having a full-time job, right? It could be as small as that, or as profound as, I'm so grateful that I have a gallery uh, on every, continent, right? Except for Antarctica. So, it could be anything, but I really want you to sit there and check your gratitude, because it's really going to make you feel good. And when you feel good, other people are going to see it in the way that you present yourself. They're going to want to be around you. They're going to feel the magneticism, or your work's going to feel magnetic to them. Okay. Next thing, I want to dispel the starving artist myth. Okay. We know about the starving artist, like, if you're a starving artist, if you want to be an artist, it's a good hobby. You better get a real job, right? I want to dispel this myth, because this is something that we're always taught when we're growing up, that if you want to be a creative person, it's a good hobby, but you should have a practical career. And I'm going to tell you very bluntly, I have written checks for artists because they were making sales at the gallery for 6 figures in one fell swoop, and you might not know who they are. You don't have to be the most famous artist in the world to make a living off of your work. And the first thing you need to do is to check that mindset at the door, right? Forget it. You can be a successful artist and make a living, right? I Just by show of hands, how many people have sold something this year? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands. And so I feel like if you've sold something, you can sell more, right? And how many of you have exhibited in an exhibition this year? Okay, great. Awesome. Beautiful. Okay, so want you to keep that in mind. You can have more of this. You just need to stop thinking that it's okay to be a starving artist and that's the way that you're supposed to be, right? Because you need to be able to receive, right? And that's the point of this is stop thinking about the starving artist myth so that you can receive. You will start to see opportunity when you feel and when you allow yourself to know that there is opportunity. Next is respect your presentation, right? Before we go on, you guys are going to learn today how to create an online presence. I want you to respect your presentation and don't just say, oh, well, whatever, I'll take this like kind of okay photo and put it on the internet because whatever, right? Make sure that everything that comes out of your studio, whether it's the actual work of art or a picture or a video or anything that you communicate about your work of art, make sure that it has your stamp of approval, meaning present your work like the artist that you want to be in the future, right? Why limit yourself now? If you want to be showing at a blue chip gallery, why are you taking kind of weird little pictures of your work, right? Show us your work the way that you would show it if you have arrived. Do you know what I mean? All right, I'm gonna move on. So before you put together your presentation, you might want to start thinking before you put together your website or really go in and start to shuffle around your social media. You want to start thinking about your intention because your intention is going to connect you to people who really care about the kind of work that you're making. Whether it's a superficial thing, seemingly superficial, meaning, okay, well, you do color field paintings and you just want to connect to people who do color, or a deep philosophical thing where, you know, your work is about trying to think of something deep and philosophical. Clearly, it's not happening. Your work is about aesthetics, and you want to connect to people who really understand and care about aesthetics, or about recycling and plastic. That is a good way to connect, right? So your intention is going to translate into your elevator pitch, but first things first, I want you to ask yourself, what inspires you and why do you do what you do, right? This is kind of a big question, right? But if you really boil it down, you'll be able to know how to communicate it quickly, right? And this idea of the intention, it's just the starting point for discussing your work, right? So what inspires you and why do you do what you do? And bonus points if there's a reason based on your previous experience that you do what you do. And this together creates a story of why you are doing what you are doing. And that makes it easy to connect, right? An example that I always give is Kehinda Wiley. Is everybody familiar with Kehinda Wiley's work? So he is a Black artist, and his experience growing up as a Black man in this country really gives him such a reason to be inspired to do what he does. He puts Black men into these compositions where throughout the history of art, they have been absent. And he puts them into these compositions to make them, to almost rewrite the history of art to say, hey, Black men belong here in this history, in this regal setting, right? And that was such a strong point that is a good jumping off point to discuss the rest of his work, right? That he can then build entire exhibitions and bodies of work and make decisions by himself as an artist based off of this, right? And he then went to paint the official portrait of the first Black president of the United States, right? But for you, your intention is going to become your elevator pitch, okay? And you're gonna have it on your website. We're also going to have your elevator pitch on your Instagram because it's gonna be a great way for people to understand the story behind your work and connect to you. So let's go to social media, right? There are so many platforms. There's like a million platforms right now, but I'm going to tell you about 4 that you should consider. And we're only really going to talk about Instagram today, but I want you to know what the 4 that you should consider are and what you could use them for. Number 1 is Instagram, of course. I think it's the best way to connect. So many people are on there, all different sorts of demographics, and there's over 1 billion people on Instagram at any given point, okay? So it's the number 1 place to connect. You can use Reels and posting on collection pages to grow your audience. And I'm only going to mention collection pages in this slide because it's a paid type of marketing. But basically, there are curated pages on Instagram that have many, many thousands of followers, and they post only different types of artworks by different artists. And that you can pay like $10 to $100 to be featured in one of these pages, and you can grow your online presence that way. And oftentimes they're very niche and focused. So I worked with an artist who's here today, who went from having like 40 people that were following her on Instagram to using the right collection pages, and now she has like 5,000 in less than a year. So it was really amazing. And I feel like she's gotten a lot of traction from it too. Even got some international galleries eyeing her. Now, the next thing is Facebook. You should use Facebook to join the groups that make sense for you based on the type of work that you do. So if your work, crudely speaking, has to do with environmentalism, maybe you join an environmentalist group to find collectors there. Not everyone's going to be a collector, but it's a great way to build community. You might not do it overnight, but if you want overnight, you might want to use Facebook Ads Manager to create ads that will target specific audiences to grow grow your exposure, all right? TikTok is another platform, and you want to use TikTok basically to redirect everyone back to Instagram. Because you're going to make more meaningful connections on Instagram. If you're using TikTok, people really just scroll through the videos on there. And it's really difficult to slide, it's hard to message people and really make that connection. You also can't put your website on TikTok unless you have a certain amount of views or followers. So you want to always redirect TikTok to Instagram. You might want to have a little stamp on your TikTok reel. Sorry, I live in Manhattan and there's a lot of noise. So you might want to put a little sticker with your Instagram username on your TikTok reel to direct people back to Instagram. And LinkedIn, I get a lot of questions about LinkedIn. You want to make sure that you don't really use LinkedIn to connect as much as to stalk who works where. Because if you want to connect to a certain gallery director, what's the point of connecting to them on LinkedIn where they're going to have to click 3 times before they can see any of your work because they have to go to your website and they really want to do it, right? Versus if you find out who they are, find them on Instagram, and then it's one tap and they see your work, right? And so I'm going to show you basically everything here. I'm telling you, just redirect everyone to Instagram because it's a really good way to show your work. And how are you going to do that? How are you going to use Instagram to connect? So your bio and your profile photo, right, are 2 very important things because they will show who you are. I always, always, always say this. You want to make sure that you have a picture, a bio, a profile photo where it's you next to your work. So we see how big it is. Artists often say to me, but Marina, it's such a small photo. No one's going to see it. First of all, you see other people's profile pics. And the reason you see it is because when you're already looking on your mobile device, your eyes adjust, right? And you see that small, small picture. You can tell the scale of the work next to the artist, especially if you work very big, that might be very impressive, or very small. You want to have a picture of you and your work on your profile. And also tell us who you are in your profile. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Next thing is your grid posts, right? So that little grid, those Instagram posts should really be like your portfolio. Because when somebody taps on your Instagram profile because they like your profile picture and they're looking for artists, they need to know what kind of work you do. So on your Instagram grid, you want to make sure it's a good representation of the type of work that you do. Everyone might be tempted to post pictures of their friends' work or their brunch or their dogs. Don't. Leave this just for your work. If you have a very cute pet, you could put it next to your artwork, but try to limit just the rule of thumb is that you should just have your work in every single grid post, okay? Then there are stories and reels. You can use both of these to grow and connect with community, and I'll tell you how. So first, your Instagram profile. I want to tell you again, use the, I'll tell you about the photo, but first the bio. The bio should have your location, right? Everybody here lives in a pretty cool location. Even if you lived in Wyoming, which that's cool too, there's something cool about your location. And it's always really good to tell us where you're from, because if curators are looking and they see that you're in LA and they're curating a show in LA, it really makes the logistics easier for them, right? So always put your location. Second is I want you to put a little bit of your elevator pitch into your profile bio. The way that you would do that is you put in a little clause about why, maybe why you do what you do or what you want people to know before they look at your work, right? So they have a little lens through which to look at your work, a filter, so to speak, right? So for example, if you are into an you're an environmentalist and your work is about environment, then you might want to say, and you make work out of recycled materials, for example, you might want to say, uh, making new uses for old things. simple as that. And it's a really good way to get people's minds to understand what they're looking at. And you don't want to give them a long explanation because no one's going to spend that much time reading, right? They're going to be there for like a few seconds. And finally, you always want to have your website on your profile, right, in your bio. And a lot of people say, well, what if should I have a link tree so it does a bunch of different things? You know, if you are the type of person, type of artist who gets a lot of press, or you really want to grow your mailing list, or you also have other links that you want people to click on, that's fine. Just make sure that your website is first on the link tree. And then maybe there's another link that will collect people's emails so that they can sign up to your newsletter, right? Or your mailing list. Because when you have a show, you want everybody to know, and you can't rely on Instagram to show it to everyone, right? So again, profile pic is you and your artwork, and I want to show you an example. I don't know if Jason is here tonight, but I'm definitely putting him on the pedestal for all of you to see. We can tell, okay, he's a realist artist. He lives in Somerville. He went to the Florence Academy. And that's also great if you have something that you want to show off your credibility for whatever reason, right? Everybody here is valid and super credible, incredible, right? But I want you to know that if you have something really cool that you want to, that you really like, that you want to show off, put that there. I know in my Instagram bio, I say, you know, why you should listen to me. And that's because I have over 15 years of experience in the New York City art world. I put that in there. So Jason, for his kind of equivalent of that, is saying that he went to the Florence Academy of Art. And make a mark to adjust a mark has always been his sort of reason to do things, right? Reason to paint. It's not necessarily an elevator pitch, but it's a good way for people to look, to understand how to look at his work, right? So moving on, what to put on your grid. Here are some tips, okay? Because someone was asking. Photoshop everything before you post. Do not, this goes back to that mindset bit where I was saying you have to respect your presentation. Don't just post something because, like, don't just take a picture and hope that it looks okay, or it's going to look better once you post it, okay? It's not going to magically look better once you post it. You want to make sure that you are setting up a beautiful photo that's worthy of your work, okay? Your work is like a beautiful, another fun analogy that I like to do is I say, okay, like if your work was a pair of shoes, would you want it to be sold at Target or Neiman Marcus, right? And so they're going to have different, both of those stores are going to have different ways to show your shoes off, right? You want to make sure that the way you're showing your work is comparable to where you want to show it. So go to that gallery Instagram that you want to show out so much, or, you know, a museum that you really want to show with or at, and look to see, okay, how are they photographing the work? Maybe I need to make my work look that way. We do not need fancy cameras anymore to make pictures look good. If you have a smartphone, chances are it's probably just as good, if not better, than some DSLR cameras, right? So you want to make sure that there's white balance and the picture looks good, it's leveled, and there's no weird clutter in the corner. You can Photoshop that out, or you could just move it out before you take a picture of it. Next thing is you want to make sure that the caption explains something about the work in your post. The reason that people will come back to look at your posts or decide to follow you is because they want to learn something. But as an artist, you might think, Marina, I don't know what I'm going to teach them. I'm just an artist. I don't want to teach them how to paint. You don't have to. As an artist, everything you do has a meaning behind it. Pretend your work is in a museum and tell us a little bit about it. It's going to be fascinating for those people who are following you because they already find your work beautiful. If you give them some value as to like educational value about your work, it's going to be exciting for them and they're going to want to come back even more, right? Why did you, maybe you're process driven as an artist and your work does, the content of your work doesn't really have um, meaning for you, right? It's just process. So tell us about the process. But if the subject matter is there, tell us a little bit about the subject matter. Okay. Next is you always want to have variety of videos, installation images, and multiple image posts. One big thing that I see on Instagram often is artists like to post just the painting or just the sculpt, like one flat image. Show us more. Show us more than just the flat image. If you can do a video, give us a video. If you're a sculptor, buy a Lazy Susan, put your sculpture on it, put it in a white foam box, set up a camera that this might take you like an hour to set up, but you know what? You're going to be photographing other things in this little makeshift studio of yours, right? So if you're a sculptor, put your sculpture on a Lazy Susan and do a little video for us. I have at the end, I want to show you a website that a sculptor made after working with me. And she used a beautiful video that if you knew how it was taken, you would be laughing, but it looks gorgeous. And then you want to have installation images so we see how big the work is, what the orientation of the work is. Is it, never crop your work unless you're really focused on the texture and the detail, because we need to see how it's going to fit into either our collection or a an exhibition that is being curated, right? We need to see what it looks like. So we need to know whether it's horizontal or vertical, whether it's got some depth to it, how is it hung, that sort of thing. So you want to give us a little bit of an insider's view. One thing that I don't mention here um, on the slide, but I want to let you know that every time you sell something, I want you to put it on Instagram because it's going to make other people feel more comfortable buying from you because they're going to see that other people are buying from you. And we have a herd mentality. So you might think, well, I only want to put things, when I'm exhibiting somewhere. That's good too, because that is also going to target that herd mentality of people who are the movers and shakers behind the exhibitions. If they see that other people are showing your work, they might be more apt to show your work, right? So always show off. If something is sold and you feel too crass saying sold next to it, say delivered to a private collection in the Maldives or wherever, right? So it could be as classy as you want it to be. The next, moving on, everyone asks me about hashtags. I could spend forever talking about it, but I don't think it's worth it. I'm going to tell you this. Use just 3 to 5 hashtags because I don't want you to spend all the time in the world trying to figure out which hashtags to use. Hashtags are great for growth if you're going to make it a science. But reels are very easy and much better for growth. So for hashtags, you might as well just know, use a large hashtag that has over 500,000 posts to it, over maybe several million posts. Use a medium one that has between 100,000 and 500,000 posts, and use some smaller ones that are below 100,000. And the reason is that, if you don't have a very big account, then chances are you're not going to show up on the larger hashtags according to the algorithm. And it's a little bit of a complicated equation there. But the point is, don't spend too much time on hashtags and give yourself enough options so that you can use them effectively. So use large, medium, and small ones. Large is over 500,000, medium is between 100 and 500,000, and small is under 100,000 posts. And you'll see how many posts there are to every hashtag as you type it in. It's going to be right underneath. The other thing about hashtags is it's way more effective to use one hashtag in a story than it is on a grid post. Okay, because there's way less competition for hashtags and stories. And you can even get on the main page of a major hashtag if you use it in stories. You can even go and check it yourself. You can go to the paintings hashtag and click on the stories and see how who is featured there. And you will see there are accounts there that are smaller than 100 or smaller than 1,000 followers. And it's fascinating how that works. Moving on to Reels. Now, Reels, who has like their mind spinning when it comes to Reels? Who's figured out Reels? Okay, we've got some mind spinning. So Ellen, Lisa, okay, people are nodding to mind spinning during Reels. Okay. Reels is a feature in Instagram that is really created so that it would compete with TikTok. And so Instagram is really pushing Reels right now. You can get many, many views on Reels because no matter what, almost no matter what, it's going to go on the Explore page on Instagram. So I'm going to give you a few tips for Reels. Number one, you always want to teach us a little bit about your work, right? Give us a fun fact about your work on your Reels. That is the whole point of doing the Reels. I know you and I love looking at artwork, and we might see something that will be so interesting but really minute. But everyone else out there has very little attention spans, very low attention spans. So what you want to do is make sure that you're capturing them by teaching them something in your Reels. Tell us a little bit about your work, right? Whether it's process driven or something about the subject matter. I work with an artist who paints flowers, right? And for her, she paints flowers based on their significance and on their symbolism. So if she was going to make reels, I would tell her, tell us about the symbolism of lilies or, carnations or whatever it is, right? And that will give a little bit of knowledge to the people who are looking at reels. They're going to want to go to your profile and follow you for more knowledge, right? Because that's the currency of Instagram is knowledge. Fun facts. All right. Now you want to use text always in the middle of the screen when you're using reels. And that's because when people are scrolling through their feeds, they're not necessarily going to see the very top and bottom of it. So that's another thing I want to tell you. But to make it easy, okay, you don't have to record like 5 different videos from 3 different camera angles. Just do this. Just record one video and add text to it. And that's it. And it's going to be so much easier for you, because as you start doing it, you'll get more and more fluent with reels and you're going to be able to do it even better. And that's when you can start adding in all the different video and become, like Martin Scorsese or something. So moving on, you want to also use popular songs in your reels. You have the option to add a song. So use the more popular songs because sometimes people just want to hear the song and they will search to see what reels are made with that song, right? And if you don't know how to do reels, I have a YouTube video where I really walk you through how to make a reel. It's on my YouTube channel. And anything else, you can always just Google it. I'm sure there's somebody out there with a video. And if you pause it and walk along with it, you'll learn so much. Now, you also want to make a nice cover image for your reel because it's going to live on your Instagram. So while you have text in the middle of it, maybe that's not a good cover image. You can upload a different photo to be the cover image for your reel because it's going to live on your grid unless you remove it from your grid. So maybe make it look like something that belongs in your portfolio, right? Next is stories. Okay. For Instagram stories, this is where you can show us your lifestyle. You want to show people that you're a real artist, you're a real person. I recently said this to someone who has paintings that are just so real that they almost, it's like pinch me, I can't believe it, right? And so I don't want people to think that these are posters. I don't want people to think that she's not a real artist. So I say, look, post your lifestyle in your stories because that's a really good way to build a connection, a really true, meaningful connection with someone. And on Instagram, right? And you can use hashtags, like if you're out and about and you're gardening and you want to use that gardening hashtag, even though it's real, use it in your stories and you're going to make a connection because there's very little competition in stories for hashtags. Next is more practical ways to use stories, right? Like more streamlined ways, I guess I want to say. When you want a gallery to make notice of you, what I suggest you do is you flirt with them on Instagram. And the way that you do it is you might want to visit the gallery, take a video, right, of their space and be authentic about it, right? Make sure that you have a beautiful video of the space and say, oh, beautiful exhibition at Gagosian Gallery today, right? And tag them. Because while some galleries, have social media managers, many bigger galleries and smaller galleries, bigger galleries have online sales directors who look at their Instagram, and smaller galleries have actual gallery owners looking at their Instagram. So when you tag them in your story and you flatter them by saying, I love your space, it's a really good way to get them to say, well, who is this Katrine? I'm going to go look at her. I'm going to look at her profile, right? And then that's a little way to tap them on the shoulder. Next is you want to share others' posts in your stories. Let's say you just can't get to a gallery and you really love, this artist that they're showing. You might want to tag the artist in the gallery and share it in your stories and say, so excited for this Johnny Niche show at the Hole Gallery, right? And it's another good way to kind of, tap them on their shoulder to get them to look at your grid, right? So you want to make sure your grid is a good representation of your work. And I have to tell you, I've worked with some artists, many artists, but one artist that I just will never forget this. One, oh, I clicked by accident. One artist who said, "Oh, Marina, I really want to like be in a show. I don't know what to do." And I'm like, it's crickets. And I said, "Hey, you should follow this gallery on Instagram right now because," and it was around this time of year because it's May. And in May, galleries who are sometimes they're scrambling to look for people to be in their summer group shows. It depends on the size of the gallery and like how organized they are, but they might be looking to have people in their summer group shows that they might not necessarily represent. So she did it and she left our meeting. This was years ago, 2 years ago to be exact. And then 15 minutes later, I got 20 text messages from her telling me basically that they not only followed her back, but asked to visit her studio and then got 3 of her paintings into their summer group show. So it happens out there. I just want you to believe that it happens. And when you believe that it happens, you're going to treat your work with respect and show your work well, right? There's a question saying, is there a problem using popular songs, copyright infringement? No, actually, these songs are licensed through Instagram that you can use in your reels. And when you do that, sometimes the song is banned in certain countries. Like I recently used a very famous song, but it was banned in like Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Cuba. So those people from those countries were unable to see my post, but Instagram told me right away, right? So I could have edited it. But also you want to use the question sticker in your stories to get emails from people. And you want to use polls and multiple choice to teach us about your work, right? Polls are yes, no, but you want to use different options. And multiple choice, you can put in whatever it is. Like you could say, hey, what do you think this painting is made of? And, A, B, C, D. And get people to slow down and tap and answer because people love to answer these polls and multiple choice questions, and it slows them down and they're going to learn something about your work. Okay. Next, I want to talk to you about your websites, but we're almost at the 1 hour mark. I just want to check in with you. How are you all feeling? Are we good? Do we still have steam in us to continue? Yes. Okay, I see a lot of hands up. Okay, good. So Susan's asking, what are question stickers and how do you create it? And Deborah, I'm so happy you joined us. So question stickers are just, I would spend some time on it, but why don't you Google it? And if you Google Instagram stories question sticker, you'll see exactly what that is. It's basically a little sticker that you put on your Instagram story and people can write in anything and submit that to you. So that's another thing they like to fill out. But I would only suggest using it for emails because if you ask people open-ended questions on Instagram stories, they're very unlikely to respond. So you want to make sure that it's either a multiple choice, 2-option, or if it's the question sticker where they can type something in, that it's something that you tell them to type in. So like their email, okay? So when it comes to your website, like I said earlier, you want to look at the galleries and artists that you aspire to, right? And mimic their presentation. Don't wait until you feel worthy because somebody gave you a show to do this, right? You want to do this now. Make your presentation the way you want it to be 10 years from now, right? You also don't have to show everything, but have a good selection on your website. So you can divide it up into all the different series and types of works that you do, and always say that it's a selection of, right? And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And the homepage of your website is the top real estate on your website. And what can you do to make the most of it, right? When you go to your homepage, there are two things on your homepage, the visual and the text. So let me tell you about the visual. You want a showstopper image or video, right? You can do that now on the internet. You can have a video or a stunning installation image of your work or the coolest texture that anyone's ever seen, like a detail of your work, right? You want to, I want to give you some options here, like a slideshow of installation shots is good. A video of 3D artwork, like I explained earlier, you can stick a sculpture on a Lazy Susan and spin her around. You can do a video of yourself walking into your stunning studio, right? And that's also very exciting to see because we see how beautiful and organized and active your studio is. And the other thing is you can have detail shots of interesting texture in your work. So if you have a lot of different unexpected textures in your work, that's also really, really good to have on your website. And I'm thinking of you, Marianne Barcelona. So moving on, the last thing is you want an email collecting pop-up on your website. Don't think that this is crass. This is so, so good. When people go to your website, it's because they really want to know about you. And if they really care even more, they can always sign up to your mailing list and you don't have to send things out constantly. I haven't sent anything out on my mailing list until yesterday. It's been months, right? And I just sent that out because I said I had something going on, which was this masterclass for all of you. So the next is the text on your homepage, right? The text is going to be your navigation, also your name, right? We want to make sure you have your name on your homepage, but I didn't put that on there because I thought it was pretty much a given. You don't want to have more than 5 or 6 items on your page, on your navigation, and they would be the about, portfolio, news, press, contact, or shop. The ones that are in bold, I think are imperative to have on your website. Everything else is optional. And you might have multiple categories under your portfolio, and that's cool for you to make like a drop-down menu. But I also really think that it's important that if you are a painter and let's say your paintings might look like photographs, you make it very, very clear on your website. Instead of using the word portfolio, use the word painting, right? And you want to make sure that all these items have one word because otherwise there might be a line break if you have a side navigation or if it's the top navigation, it's unclear which word is what. You want to keep it tidy. So only one word is what I would recommend per category. And if you have a shop, make it clear that you have a shop. Make it in the front or the end. So over here or over here on your website. Some templates even have a way for you to make it a button. And you can even have a shop anywhere else. You can have a shop on Etsy, on Saatchi, and link directly to it. So it could say shop and it could go directly to the Saatchi page. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to host it. You don't have to build your own shop on your website. But one thing that I like instead of shop is collect, right? That seems really, really cool, right? Super classy. Collect instead of shop. And then you also want to have your social links. So if you have those little, Instagram things over here or Twitter or whatever, which I don't suggest you join Twitter, but that's just me. So you might want to have your social links in your navigation. On your about page, you want to have 2 paragraphs, one about your work and one about your accomplishments, both in the third person, along with a photo of you, hopefully next to your work or in the studio. And I want to say, look at the camera and don't wear sunglasses because this is where you make a connection with whoever is looking on your website. And it's really, really good energy to make eye contact with them. Next, on your portfolio page, you want to have a grid of your work first so that when you click on the thumbnail, it gets big on the computer screen, right? And when you have a grid of your work, you want to make sure that the captions are always underneath the thumbnails. And there's a very clear reason for this. When curators go to your website, when galleries go to your website, especially galleries, they're going to want to see the development of your work, recent development. Some of you may have been working for like a few decades and you don't have to show them everything. You just want to show them what you're doing now. They need to see the development, so they need to see the dates. They need to see the size, so they need to see the sizes. Don't crop these thumbnails. They need to see the orientation of the work. And they also need to know essentially what the medium is, and if they can see a title that makes a difference for us, then that's super important. And it's a really good way for these people who have very little attention span, very little time, even though they're interested, to instantly grab their attention is with this grid, with the thumbnails and the captions underneath. And you never want to show more than 15 works in any given section. 12 is great. 6 is fine. You probably don't want to do less than 6, right? And on top of the page, you want to say it's a selection of whatever. Okay. Next is the contact page. Oh, and you want to say a selection of, so they don't think that that's all you have. There are many other reasons for it, but I'll just tell you that for now. On the contact page, you want to have your location. So if people want to visit your studio, where in the world are you located? You don't have to give us your address, just give us your location. You want to show your social links so people can connect to your Facebook and your Instagram or whatever. And you want to have your email. A lot of people say, well, I don't want spam. If you don't want spam, you can just have your email written as, for example, Marianne, and then in parentheses, the word at Gmail, out of parentheses, in parentheses, .com, right? So it's not clickable, but they see what the email is. And that way, it's easier for them to contact you. Not everybody wants to fill out that form. Some people might want to send you an attachment, and it's weird to figure out that form. Some people just want to have your email. They feel weird submitting a form. So I really highly recommend having your email on there. And also, the mailing list sign-up option is super good to have as well. Finally, your gallery representation info, especially if you're looking for galleries in different parts of the world, but you're represented in one place, then tell us that East Coast representation at Gagosian or whatever, right? And you're ready for West Coast, right? It's the thing that you omit. So next, I want to do a full recap, right? You want to make sure you have your intention down, because that's how you make meaningful connections, right? You can't sell pictures of puppies to cat people. Maybe you're really good, but make sure you have your intention down. Have those social media connections. On your social media, you want to direct everybody to your website, and your website will showcase what you're doing right now in the best possible light. And from that, you get meaningful exposure and sales. And I gotta say, I know we're living on the internet right now, but nothing beats also having a business card where you can have your website and your social media on there, because you might, the world's opening up, you might meet someone and they will want to know more about you, Maddie. And they're gonna say, hey, how do I get in touch with you? My phone's dead. Right? And then you give them your business card. If their phone isn't dead, you might want to make sure that they follow you right then and there on Instagram, but nothing beats the business card, right? Because even if they follow you then and there on Instagram, you're lost in their, the many hundreds of people that they're following. That's super important. So I want to open up to questions, but before I do that, I just want to tell you also that if you want to learn more about how to have this wonderful online presence, if you want to have a website, if you want to make meaningful connections on Instagram, and most importantly, hone in on your intention, I have a program called the Artist Academy. It's starting June 2021. It's 4 months. We meet once every 2 weeks, and you also have tech support every week. So you meet with a member of my team, and they will walk you through how to make an Instagram post, how to make an Instagram story, or a reel, or how to do something on the website. There's also an option where you get to sign up for 5 one-on-one meetings with me, so that we can meet once in the beginning to plan everything and once every month to make sure that you're on track. And this is what you learn. You learn the structure of the art worlds. Like, did you know that there were non-collecting museums and collecting museums? And who to contact, where, and how. Identifying your intention and developing your elevator pitch, super important, because when you know that, you know who your audience is, and you can connect to the right collectors and curators. Again, like I said, you would be able to build a new website or pivot your current website to fit your brand, who you are, with my guidance, because you might have a lot of things that you need to reorganize. And you will learn how to leverage Instagram to elevate your career. So it's not just, the things that I taught you here today, but going on forward, how do you maintain that growth? And then letting go of the starving artist mindset. I do in every single session. I think it's so, so important. And also how to initiate sales and apply to residencies, grants, and open calls and beyond. And we also have guest speakers come and talk to us every now and then. So if you're interested, just shoot me an email and I'll tell you a little bit more about it or how you can sign up. So we have some questions in the chat, and I'm going to open up to questions from you all. But before I do that, I also want to show you 2 website examples of some of my clients that I'm so, so proud of. And I want you to see so that you can get a little bit of inspiration of what you might want to do for your website. So this is a website by Lori Barenhouse. She's a sculptor. I was blown away with this presentation. All right. So good. I wanted to show you the grid that I was talking about. So here's one that I'm very proud of. So we see the orientation of the images, even though they're all square, we see that it's private collection when it's sold, right? And so this artist looks really good, but it's also very organized for curators. And if we want to see it big, we could just click on it and see it in a light box, right? Another thing that I want to show you is this artist's website, who is also has done so many collaborations. I'm actually thinking about you, Maddie. I know that you also do a lot of graphic design. And when you do a lot of graphic design, you want to show that off, because as an artist, you can turn it into, you can communicate it as a collaboration. And this is what Yana did over here. And she had major, major collaborations, which are very much on brand for her in the graphic design world, but she does highlight her paintings on her website. And again, there's that beautiful grid where we see the caption underneath. And when we want to see the full painting, we can just click on the painting to see it, right? So this is another very cool website. I think that's basically the most important thing that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and open up to questions. I don't know if maybe I should scroll through the chat, but maybe that'll take forever. So let me just do it quickly. And then if you have a question, just unmute yourself. Oh, and Dorothy is asking, what is your opinion of co-op galleries? Okay, Dorothy, let me tell you, I believe that co-op galleries are a wonderful stepping stone into a bigger world. And the reason is that, you know, when you're in a co-op gallery, first of all, they're built around community. And that also means that there are people in co-op galleries who want to make sure that um, your work is good enough to show. Do you know what I mean? So there is a little bit of a gatekeeper situation there. And so it looks really good on your resume, on your CV. And also, like I said, it grows your community, and the opportunities are always going to come from the artists you know and the community you build. So I have a high opinion of co-op galleries. The only thing is you're going to have to do a lot on your own. You're going to have to sell on your own unless they have a designated sales director, which many co-op galleries do not. You're going to have to write your own press releases, sit in the gallery. Some co-op galleries started to hire directors and managers, which are great, but they are not as motivated for you to succeed as galleries where their directors are working on commission, right? So you really have to do a lot of things on your own. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm sure they're doing the best they possibly can for their job. It's just they might be spread thin. So next, oh, does that answer your question, Dorothy? Cool. All right. Susan is saying, thank you. Oh, good to see you, Susan. Who designs these websites? Well, Judy, so these websites are all designed by my students. They made them for themselves when after they signed up to the Artist Academy. So I have a very step-by-step tutorial on how to do these, and you can follow along and actually do it yourself. And of course, I'm there to guide you and help you and do any like extra stuff that you're not sure how to do. But the beautiful thing about these websites is that you can update them on your own as needed. So if you finish the best work of art to date at 2 a.m., you can upload it to your website because you know how to do it, right? You don't have to wait for anyone to update your website. Let's see. Lori is saying, can you talk more about collections? Lori, do you mean collection pages? I'm trying to find you here, your picture. Unmute yourself. Yes, hi, Lori.
Hi, Marina. Thank you for taking my question. You mentioned something about collections on Instagram.
Yes. So collection pages are pages on Instagram that are curated, and basically you DM them to get featured on the page. The page has many followers, and you want to make sure that it's a real collection page. Some collection pages will have, 100,000 followers, but only 5 likes. That is unlikely. So that is not a good collection page. A good example of a collection page for realists that I like to use is Blue Review. So it's instagram.com/Blue Review. Oops. Hang on, I gotta.
Could you give an example for one for abstract art, just so I can check it out and see what you mean?
There's one called Abstracted, but there's a dot between right before the T.
Abstracted. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a really
I
good
get
one.
it. Thank
Good.
you.
So check it out. You might, pay like 10, 40, $50, maybe more. But you can also tell them to choose whatever they want from your page if you're unsure of what to give them, because they know what's going to work. And before you even do one of these posts on a collection page, you want to make sure that you have a large enough audience that they would even want to feature you, and that you have a very organized grid. So sometimes artists who have like 80 followers, you just haven't really found your voice yet, they will say no to you because they're worried that when their dedicated followers go to your Instagram page, they're not going to get what they expect to get, meaning they're going to get pictures of puppies, your pets, your brunch, your family, and not your artwork. So you want to make sure that your Instagram is very organized. Laura, you have no problem with that, but I'm telling everyone else, you want to make sure, and you might not have a problem with it, but make sure that you have your artwork on there, right?
Thank you, Marina.
Oh, my pleasure. We got more questions.
Any advice on handling different bodies of work because you've been working for many years? How to
Yeah.
handle that?
Yeah, so Lynn, this is such a great question. What I would suggest that you do is showcase the work on your website from the past 5 to 10 years, work that you're still kind of working on, and you're still developing those bodies of work. And then have a section on your website, a page that's called Archive. And that's where you have your other type of work that you were working on in the past that you're kind of done with. But going forward, you want to just showcase the work that you're doing now. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Norma saying how to make and use reels and how to post stories. So Norma, I have a video on my Instagram, not my Instagram, on my YouTube on how to make a reel. And so I really walk you through it. It's a half hour where you can pause and move along, right? And I hope that it's helpful. So you are able to do that. Of course, how to post stories, you can also Google that. But I want to say that if you were interested in signing up to the Artist Academy, then a member of my team would definitely be able to guide you as you're posting. You can meet with them, and I know there are some people here who have participated and done this. They will teach you step by step how to do the technical component of it.
Thank you so much.
Lisa is saying, is it advisable to go back and edit your IG page? Yes, Lisa, nothing on the internet, it has to be forever, right? Contrary to popular belief. You can do whatever you want with your Instagram. I want to tell you, you can archive. You can click the 3 dots next to a post and move it into your archive so that when you change your mind, or if you change your mind later, you can go to your archive and bring it back into your Instagram, right? So really, those beautiful memories of brunch, you can archive. Not that, maybe you don't have beautiful memories of, maybe it's not brunch, maybe it's something else. But if it's an art thing, like for example, let's say you went to the Louvre and you had such a great time, but you didn't have your artwork up at the time. So what do you do with that Instagram post? I would still archive it, but I would take the photos, take a screenshot, and maybe use that content, put it in your stories and say, oh, missing the time that I went to the Louvre. Where can I travel? If you could travel anywhere, where would you go next? And have people, have a multiple choice selection of like, Spain, Italy, the Caribbean. I'm staying home, so that'll be fun. All right. Any more questions from anyone?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah. On Instagram and on Facebook, do you let everybody follow you who wants to follow you? I mean, what do you do when people want to follow you? I mean, do you just let them so this way you have a lot of numbers, or is it better to be selective?
So it's that's such a good question, because your first instinct might be, yeah, like I'm gonna let anyone follow me.
Not me.
The thing is, on your Instagram, you should not be so discerning. You should let them follow you, but look at their profile, because if their profile looks very sketchy, like if they don't have a lot of interactions or posts on their profile, if they don't have many followers, or literally if they have 0 posts,
Yeah.
sometimes those followers are just robots and they're just spam. So you want to say no to them. You want to deny them or block them.
Right.
Because the reason is, when you have these ghost followers, that's what they're called, ghost followers. They're going to add to the numbers of people following you on Instagram, and Instagram doesn't know the difference between a robot and a real person most of the time. And so when you post something and you have 100 followers and 10 of them are ghost followers, or maybe 50 of them are ghost followers, then only there's a chance for 50 people to see it out of 100. So that will already make less people look at your post and like your post. And when less people look at your post and like your post, then guess what? Instagram thinks it's bad. And they're not going to promote it. They're not even going to show it to the other, 10 people who follow you who are real, right?
Oh, interesting.
So if you have a fake profile trying to follow you, you want to block them.
Okay.
If you have anyone who's spamming you, like trying to ask you for money or on a date, and on Facebook, you could be as discerning as you want, because you can really just let people who you like or that follow you or be friends with you. But on Instagram, you want to amass followers. You just want to make sure they're not fake.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. And we have a question in the chat from Ellen. She says, how often should you post your work on Instagram? Beautiful question. What a great question. Everyone has a different answer to this. I'm going to give you mine. I don't think there's a specific formula. People say, okay, 3 to 5, 3 to 5 times a week. Who has the capacity for that? I don't. What you want to do is, when you have the idea for a quality post it, right? It's quality over quantity. And if, at the very least, very least, I would say post something once every 2 weeks, but I personally, I have been fine on Instagram. I really enjoy it and I get a lot of interaction out of it. I don't like to post on, so I don't like to post on my grid so much. I like to post in my stories, and it's a lot less pressure. So I always stay present in my stories. So maybe that's something that you might want to do before, if you don't feel so comfortable posting all the time. But Ellen, the answer here is quality, not quantity. So once every 2 weeks is fine, as long as it's really good. And if you can, show up in your stories as much as possible, a few times a day. But if not, that's okay too. We have a question from Holly. I have had terrible messages sent to me about my female-centric work. How do you respond in a very respectful way, or do you respond at all? Okay, this is another good question. Some people might say, don't respond and just block. That is a little bit of a challenge, because here's the thing, Holly, you are an artist, and when you're an artist, you're a business, okay? And when you're a business and you just block people and you don't respond, it's not great, right? Because you are almost like a public figure, right? That's how I want you to kind of see yourself. So when you have something like this, say, well, thank you so much for your opinion. I will take it into consideration and forget them. If they're being belligerent, block them, all right? But really, what you want to say is, yes, I hear you, right? You just don't need to agree with them. And you don't have to tell them that you disagree with them. All you have to do is tell them, I hear you. Thank you for that. Does that feel right to you, Holly? What do you think about that? Feel right? Okay. We have, wait, let's see, question from Lori. For post Zoom, still looking, okay. Yes, so Lori, I really suggest building your own website. And I suggest building your own website so you know how to update it. And I see that face and it's happened. Okay, I gotta tell you, one of my one-on-one clients that I work with gave me that same exact face. She gave me that face when I told her to do everything that she needed to do, because when you have that feeling of like, "Oh, I can't do it, I don't want to do it," that is your ego trying to keep you safe. And let me explain this. There's a really beautiful book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I tell everybody to read it. It is life-changing. The idea in this book is, okay, you have your ego and it keeps you safe. It operates between two parallel lines, your baseline and your upper limit. And your baseline is the thing that you will never, ever drop below. So it's like making sure you have enough money to pay your mortgage or your rent, live in the neighborhood you want to live in, making sure that you're going to have X amount of shows per year, or you're going to sell this amount of work. You're going to find a way to do it, right? And the upper limit is something that is the most exciting, like the top thing you can imagine. When it comes to income, some people have an upper limit. I feel like all of us do, no matter what it is. I feel like the only people that don't have an upper limit when it comes to income are like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. So the upper limit is there because it's what we know, right? And it feels safe for us to stay in these two lines between what we know. And when we stay there, it's fine. I mean, nothing wrong with it. It's just you're not going to be able to grow beyond that upper limit. So that's one reason you might be. But the other thing is it's very emotional to build a website, right? It's very, very emotional. And that's why when I tell artists to do it, I like to have a community that we're in it together and we're building our websites together. It took me like over a year to build my own website without community, and I really wish I had it. And when this one-on-one artist that I was working with, well, I was able to push her more because we were working one-on-one. So she was kicking and screaming, saying, "No, Marina, I don't want to build my own website." And she did it. And now she says, "Oh, Marina, it's the best thing, because every time I have to do something," she does many other things. She's not just an artist. She does brand collaborations. She teaches. Every time she does something, and thinks of something, she puts it on her website by herself. It could be any time of day. She can rearrange it how she wants. She knows the inner workings of it. And so most important thing is to build your own website, but it's always good to have community that's going to help you figure out what to put on there and how, right? Question from Bonnie. Bonnie says, is there a best time of day to post? Oh, good question. If you ask someone who has like a bajillion followers, right? Like 100,000 or more, they're going to say, no, you can post anytime. Well, for them, it doesn't matter because they have followers all over the world, right? Who they got every time zone. But you might have a certain time zone, Bonnie. And I don't remember catching where you're from, but think about your time zone. And the best time to post is in the morning because people are addicted to their phones. Oh, I know, I feel kind of weird telling you, like, people are addicted to their phones, so you can capitalize on that. People are addicted to their phones, so they will look at it first thing in the morning, and they will also look at it last thing at night. The thing is, everyone has a different bedtime. So, but many people kind of like wake up around the same time. So what you want to do is post in the morning for where most of your followers are, and that's going to give your post the best chance to be seen. All right. Next is from Maddie. If you're applying to an open call, is it okay to tag the gallery you're applying to in a post that shows what art you're applying with? Kinda. You should do this. You can do it, but do it in stories and say kind of like, first thing you might want to do is share their open call post to your stories and say, OMG, open call it like 2nd Street Gallery, apply. And then the next one is say, I submitted this, you know, so that it feels like you're doing them a favor, but really, you know, you're saying, hey, look at my work, you know, and that's a very good kind of way to do it. Does that help, Maddie? I don't see you. Oh yeah, there you are. Yeah, good. Okay. Christina is asking, do you recommend certain web hosts you like, GoDaddy or Google or other? Yes. Christina, great question. And thank you for everyone for sticking around for this answer. I highly recommend Squarespace because it's an all-in-one. You can have your mailing list, you can have your email, like newsletter thing go out, and you can have a shop on there. I really like Squarespace for that reason. It has great templates. There are 2 templates that I always recommend. I recommend Forte or Tremont, which is the 7.0 templates. And they're the ones that support the captions underneath. I think also you should, the cool thing about Squarespace is if you don't like one template and you feel like you want to switch, you don't have to re-upload all your information. You could just zhuzh it to match the other template. I know, I think Lois and I were Lois, you were on Squarespace before I waved my wand over your website, and we were able to kind of just migrate the information. You didn't have to re-upload many things, right? Yeah, so that was really good. Let's see, more, yes. Any more questions? Website, Instagram, anything? I don't see your hands, all of you, but if you wanted to unmute yourself, you can ask a question. I'm just wondering on also, what is one of the most valuable things that you learned today? Would you put it in the chat?
Can I ask a website question?
Sure, Lisa, yes.
Somebody recently said that it's a good idea to have some white space on your homepage. I was told that it's the way we kind of rest in our eye moves. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, so here's the thing. This goes back to my point about looking at the galleries where you want to show to see what their website looks like. And the thing is, they're going to read websites according to what they think a good website is, right? A good in-between space for this is to have an installation image of your work up, because that white space that the wall creates, if it's in a full bleed, then oh my God, what's that word? Sorry, English is my second language, everyone. But I don't know if that's why I keep forgetting these words. It will satisfy both people who want to have that full bleed and that white space. If you have the an installation image in a white gallery. And that's actually one of the best ways to show your work on your homepage, because we will see your the orientation of your work, whether it's horizontal or vertical. And we will also be able to tell if it is, you know, how big it is in the gallery space. You can also just Photoshop it. Okay, let's see. We have some more questions here. And also, if I don't get a chance, if you have more questions afterwards or want some more solid advice, you can always book a free 20-minute assessment call with me on my website. It's like front and center on my website. And also, I just want to say, if you're interested in the Artist Academy, there's only a few spots left. I literally have 5 spots and then 2 spots for the one-on-one option. And we have the pre-enrollment, kind of like the discounted price, up until the end of the week. So if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend jumping in on that, because I would like to work with you. Christina is saying, if I understand correctly, you recommend smaller websites, not career overview. So Christina, I think that if you wanted to do a career overview, you should totally do it. I think your website has to be comprehensive, but I'm not recommending a smaller website. I'm recommending that you put the most recent work that you're currently working on front and center on your website, and that the earlier work that is a good career overview goes on an archive page. I worked with an artist who had his first solo show at the Whitney in the 1970s, okay? And we put together a comprehensive website for him. And one of the most effective ways to do that, considering his large body of work that he had created, was to really create, we had 3 categories in the drop down of his recent work that he's working on. And then one page was the archive page. And on the archive page, we had different ways to look, different places to click for his earlier work. So different categories from his earlier work. And so it was very tidy, but it was very comprehensive. But don't put everything on your website. You want to show us not too much, because if you show everything, right, then what are they coming to your studio for, right? You want to show a selection of the work, so it's a good sampling of what you do. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay. Oh, hashtag info. Somebody, oh, Finn, I like the hashtag info. Good. All the website and Instagram info is great. Thank you. I'm so glad you found it great. Good, Ryan. Anne said, need to look at stories and reels. Okay. And Dorothy said, I appreciate tips for refining Instagram. I'm grateful you like them. Wendy says, didn't know about reels. Excellent. Thank you. Finn says, thank you. Okay. Lynn says, what if you have 2 websites, one for oil paintings and one for watercolor? Is that a bad idea? Why are you going to have 2? You should, you know, why are you going to give people an option of where to go, one or the other? You want to get them to your house and then decide what room they want to go into, right? Get them in through the door. And so I would connect both those websites. An easy way to do it is, you know, instantly do it, is to create a splitter page. And then, you know, you can massage in the watercolors to the paintings page or whatever, but you can create a splitter page that, you know, is, I guess, you know, yourname.com, and then, oh yeah, lynnfriedman.com, and then, you know, click here for paintings, click here for watercolors. That's an easy, quick way to do it, but you want to make sure that your domain is your name.
Thank you. Thank you.
My work is feminist erotic. Can it be shown on Instagram? Yes. So very good way to show erotic work on Instagram is to show, be creative with covering up the nipple. Okay. Apparently the nipple is like blasphemous. It's terrifying to look at. But what you could do is you could have pictures where we have details of the work that crop out the nipple, or you can stand in front of it, right? If it's hanging on your wall in the studio, and you cover up something somehow. So you could get kind of creative with how you're going to show these things. And I think it's important to have a presence online. And because I think feminist work, even if it's erotic, there's Linda Benglis, there's Gada Amer, those are technically erotic works of art, but it's really important for them to have a voice. And so I think it would be so good for you to go on Instagram and show it. Yoon liked January, liked the details on reels. And then how do we get in touch with me? Okay, all right. Thanks, Susan, for asking. So my website is theartistadvisory.com, theartistadvisory.com. And you can find out all the information you need to get in touch with me on there. But also, if you're here, I sent you an email. So you have my email address. Let's see. Lynn says, appreciate the tips on Instagram. My pleasure, Lynn. Oh, good. Thank you so much, Kathy, for that sweet message. Thank you. And what about male body parts? Yeah, so there's an artist on Instagram who has been getting away with posting male body parts because she has them in her work. And her Instagram is the Ruben Bean. Let me type that in. And so you can find her actually. And it's so important to make sure that the people who are following you are not going to be offended, because they're the ones who would report you, right? So that's the thing. Sometimes you can't really monitor who sees your posts, right? You could technically make a private account and do it that way, but I don't recommend that. I think that you should try to post what you can. You can get creative with, covering up nudity, but I think eroticism is fine. And also, it seems like not a lot of people are that offended by male body parts. So weird. Is there like a double standard or something? I don't know. Okay. All right. Everyone's saying thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, everyone. It was so good to be here with you today. It is so fun to talk to you and to give you feedback. So if you have any questions about anything, you can always email me. And if you are interested in working together, just book the assessment call. Or if you want to learn more about the Artist Academy, I'm going to drop in the link into the chat right now, so you can go ahead and click on it and see, read a little bit more about it and see if you're interested. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye.
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 Well, I'm going to do this on